Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marco Mazzola, and we have with us Larry. Hello, Larry.
Hey, how you doing?
We're doing well. We are excited about today's episode.
Very excited.
So Larry and I are about the same age. Just, not that far away.
We're mid-40s.
Mid-40s. Let's go. Let's stay mid-40s. That's a nice, easy, gentle way to put it.
Yeah.
So childs of the 80s.
Absolutely.
Born in the 70s, but,
yes,
by the
child of
time
the
you
80s.
kind of get to know and remember the shit you watch and do, it's, it's not right away, right? It takes at least 5-6 years before you really kind of remember the shit. So now we're talking 80s at this point.
Yep.
So today we're covering 80s cartoons.
Yes.
Saturday morning cartoons. Who did not love, getting up Saturday morning, still get your, your feety pajamas on, maybe a bowl of your favorite cereal.
Yep.
What was yours?
I was a big Captain Crunch fan.
I grew up on Captain Crunch, but man, did that rip the shit out of your mouth.
Yeah, and I think that's always the joke every time somebody brings it up. Every time somebody brings it up, we always talk about like the roof of your mouth getting ripped up.
Yeah,
right?
It was great. Until they came out with the Crunch Berries, and that eased it up a little because it was round. They were round a little bit.
I wasn't a fan of those because if I went with like a fruity, it was for me, it was Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah, I'm loving the fact that we spent 30 seconds, we've already tangent off what we're actually talking about today.
Well, you brought up cereal.
I know, we could do a whole episode just on cereal. All right, so we're talking about 80s cartoons. You're sitting there, you're eating your Captain Crunch, you can't feel the roof of your mouth anymore, and you're enjoying watching some cartoons.
Yes.
All right, so let's start we'll start with your favorite. Did you have a top favorite, or was it just sort of like, these are the ones I watch?
No, absolutely. And I am, again, in my mid-40s, and it's still my favorite. And that was Thundercats. I loved
Thundercats. Ho!
I absolutely loved Thundercats.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna talk Thundercats, and we'll. Larry's getting a little phone call there.
I don't know what that was. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Things happen. It's real life.
Yeah.
So Thundercats. Talk to me. What was the charm of Thundercats? Because I was a Thundercats person too. No shock. I had all the toys. Most of the toys.
That was probably one of the ones that I had. I didn't have the base because it was too big.
It was huge.
It was huge.
It was massive with the big arms coming out the front.
Yeah, but I did have the Thunder Tank. I did have Lion. I had all the characters except for Wile E. Kit and Cat. I couldn't get my hands on them.
So what pissed me off, later on they redid them, but the original ones were just on a stand. There was no articulation with the figures. They were literally just base figures and they were glued to a stand.
Yeah.
Eventually they redid them. You could actually move them. Yep. That pissed me off. Like Snarf was the same way. He was basically just a mold. He was just a mold. There was no articulation because he was too small, and I think the technology back then just wasn't able to catch up and be able to do something like that with it. And they just wanted to make it for the least amount of money as they could. But the rest of them, the rest of the Thundercats were just, they were my jam.
Yeah,
I love Thundercats. There's a lot. We'll talk about all the different toys coupled with the show, because essentially that's what they were.
Yeah.
All the 80s cartoons, and not to say that they're not today, but they were really just made to sell toys.
Yeah.
Like they had the toy lines first, and they said, oh shit, let's advertise these. How do we advertise them? Well, we'll make a cartoon.
Well, that's a lot of the American cartoons that came up, but I mean, you have to think about a lot of the cartoons that were getting done that we watched here. They were being done overseas.
Yeah, they were just remakes from the original Japanese shows or from Britain. Yeah, different things like that.
A lot of them were Japanese, so a lot. They had a lot of Japanese cartoons that were coming over here.
You can see the influence in the animation.
Yep.
You know what I mean from them? Yep. One of the biggest, obviously, animators here was Filmation.
Yes.
They did a large portion of. Hanna-Barbera obviously was massive, but Filmation did a lot of the 80s cartoons. Like a lot of those famous cartoons you remember from the 80s is from Filmation. So Thundercats, who was your favorite character? Mine was Panthro, basically being a martial artist. He had the nunchucks.
Right.
At the claws at the end. I loved him.
See, it was weird. It wasn't so much. I mean, I loved Panther. I loved Tiger because Tiger was just badass, right?
Yeah.
He had that bolo whip that made him invisible.
He could turn
he makes him invisible.
Yeah.
What?
That was pretty badass.
Panther was cool because his nunchucks were awesome.
He was the tank of the group.
Right. Chitara was just wicked fast.
The girl, come on, Crush, come on.
Oh, yeah.
You're a kid. It's a cartoon. You're never crush on the cartoon.
I don't really have so much of a favorite out of them because they were all like.
It was a great team.
It was an awesome team. I loved them all. Like I said, even Kit and Cat, they were cool.
I mean, Lino, the only issue I had with Lino was that he was just a kid growing up, like really fast, so he can get a little whiny at times. Even as a kid, I knew he was kind of a little whiny.
Right. And
he was a little like, petulant sometimes.
That was one of the things that I didn't understand. It's like, well, wait a minute. If they all got older, how come if he got older in his capsule, how come he was the only one that got older in the capsule?
Did something happen? I don't remember exactly. Did something happen to his capsule? Did he transform?
So I think that when they rebooted it,
yeah,
on Cartoon Network, I think they explained that.
Yeah,
maybe because
I think they did. No,
because in Cartoon Network, it actually takes place on Thundera.
Right.
Like that whole that very short-lived series was all on Thundera. They didn't even come to Third Earth. I don't know. Maybe they did, and I just forgot. But that was like, I remember that was one of the real craws for me. It was like, he got older. He's the same age when they all go into this capsule. He's the same age as Kit and Kat.
Right. But he grows up to an adult.
He grows up to be Lionel, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. What the hell happened to him? So I'm gonna have to go back and try to watch the early episodes again.
It's been a while. I've actually rewatched them. You can get them.
I started to, and I
have them on my iTunes or something like that. But there's other places.
Well, you want to talk about seasons? So I believe it's only 2 seasons.
Yeah, but
there's like 72.
If you look them up like on the DVDs, it's like 4 parts.
Yeah,
it's 2 per season.
It's
but then they were cranking them out. Like Filmation would crank. Right, with He-Man was kind of the same thing. There wasn't a lot of seasons, but there was like 70, 80 episodes per season.
Right.
So you didn't need it. Like you had enough to do a couple of seasons and create syndication.
And boy, did it get syndicated.
Yeah, and that's all they needed because that's where they make their money on the show. But they just needed this. They need the amount of episodes to create the characters they needed to sell more toys. Right. Yeah, like the Samurai came in eventually. I just watched that episode recently because it happened to be on. I watched that, and he was one of my favorite action figures. Was the Samurai? And he's like he hit a little button on his waist, and he turned sideways with the sword. Yeah. So you just slice people in half with the sword as it went side. He had this like really long samurai sword, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Thundercats was definitely in my wheelhouse. I loved it. It wasn't my favorite, but it was up at the top of my list. It was certainly in my top 10.
Okay. What was yours?
G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe, for whatever reason, I loved. Talk about the toys. I had every single. The only thing I didn't have was the flag. Like that was the only thing. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
And I know I talked about this with Mike. The only thing I didn't have was the flag. I had everything else. I got every wave of figures that came out. I went to Mr. Big Toyland in Waltham on Moody Street and was there. They knew us. Like they knew my buddy's mother. Like so they'd call. The guy would call her and say, the new wave just came in. Do you guys want to come down?
Oh, no way.
So we would go and open the boxes. Literally, he'd get the knife and slice the boxes open for us, and we'd pick through before he put them up on the shelves. And
That's insane.
We got to go in, behind the scenes, day before they'd put them out. And
you got to pick through what you wanted.
Imagine doing that today with all the Chase figures and things like
that.
Oh,
God, no.
Right?
No.
Oh, my God. Having everything. Good Lord. So that's what we did. Then I ate that show up. I would watch it. I have them all the DVDs. I still watch it every once in a while. I think it's on Amazon as well. You can go back and just throw up some episodes. And, and the animation, today's standard was not great by today's standards. But back then it was pretty good.
It was. What I liked...
Different characters, of course. You had Snake Eyes, who was everybody's favorite character.
Well, the thing about G.I. Joe that was great, and again, it was such a toy money marketing thing that you introduce you could introduce a new character every single episode.
Yep.
And guess what?
There's a new
People
toy.
are gonna buy it. Like
of course.
Again, G.I. Joe was another one of my great ones I really, really liked. But I think what it was for G.I. Joe, and maybe for me, there was too much to consume. Right, and I didn't have the money for all those toys.
Oh, I was a whore.
Right, yeah. So it's like I couldn't, and I couldn't go to my parents every day and go, hey, I want, because my dad,
So my Christmases, as I've explained, were nuts.
Yes.
My mother, Santa Claus would have. I would have everything between that and my grandmother. But and sometimes they come out with like 2 waves per year. Right, like a spring and a fall. Right, one for Christmas, obviously one in the middle. What I would do is I would work at my dad's gas station, like just pumping gas or sweeping up, and he'd give us a little bit of money. Every week. It took a while. Sometimes it would take a month or 2 before you say, oh yeah, here's the money for last month. But I would take that money, and that's what I would use to go to Mr. Big Toyland. And I used that money to go buy my next wave of G.I. Joe figures. And then, when it came to the vehicles and things like that, my mother would go to KB Toys, my mother would buy me something. And that was, for her, God bless her, I tortured her. And I was a good kid. I wasn't so much a pain in the ass, but when it came to buying the toys, forget it. There was no winning. We'd go to the mall, Burlington or where. My mother took us shopping everywhere. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she got dragged to every mall on the Eastern Seaboard, mostly in Massachusetts, and we literally closed the mall. When I say close the mall, we had to find the unlocked door, and it was never near where we parked. We'd come in through Filene's, and you'd have to leave somewhere else because the door we came in there
the door was already shut.
Was shut. And they're like, I'm like, do you have keys, Mom? Did they just give you keys to this mall so we can get out of here? We literally late night. My poor grandmother and her kids
watching carrying the big ass bags around.
It was insane. So it was, go to the mall. My mother's Sophie's choice, if you will, was, do I take him to KB first and buy the toy? And then he's going to bug me for the next hour or two to get out of the mall.
So you could go home and play with it.
Or do I spend the next hour or two in this mall, him bugging me to go to the KB toy store?
Right.
It was a catch-22. There was no win. At the beginning to at the end, you're screwed either way. Because I'm going to be complaining that I want to go get the toy, right? A typical kid. That's just the way it was. But I wasn't like, I don't remember being like a petulant, like stomping in the aisle, throwing my body on the ground, because then I had to get back up. It was dirty, and I wasn't like that. But,
if I ever try that, I would just get left there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? What you're going to do? We're just going to leave you there.
My mother did that on occasion. We talked about that. I still have to go to therapy for that one.
Put it in the box.
That was a very known, it's still kind of a joke in my family. My mother would my brother and I'd be fucking around under the racks. She'd be in the women's department. And then we'd be screwing around, and we'd come out, and she's nowhere to be found.
Now you're like,
and
oh
she's
shit,
like, she's in shoes or somewhere down in purses, and we're losing them. Like, I'm losing my mind because I'm like 4 or 6.
Yeah.
My brother was about 2 years old. He was 21 months older than me.
Yep.
And he was not the most, God rest his soul, he was not the most supportive. So, we're heading to customer service. Diane was on come to customer service to get your kids. Diane was on to customer service. The walk there was the most torturous walk you've ever met, because most people would be supportive. We go, don't cry, it's okay. I'm your older brother. We'll find her. Don't worry, don't cry. We'll be okay. My brother was the exact opposite. What if she never comes back? What if we don't find her? What if we have to live here? Like that was he was doing it on purpose to light me up. And of course the crocodile tears were coming worse because he was playing into it. It's just the way he was like, what if we don't see her again?
What if we have to live here?
And you could just see the shit-eating grin on his face. We couldn't find Mom, and then eventually she'd come and get us. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And her most famous quote was, "You're supposed to be watching me." And we're like, 4 and 6, or 6 and 8. Yeah. You're supposed to be watching us.
No, all the way around. You're supposed to pay attention to Mom.
Us. So there was a lot of that at the malls. But anyway, I digest. So we get the toys that were there, and G.I. Joe was always my favorite. So and speaking on the toy portion of it, like I'm still famous in my family for. You get a vehicle, and you had to put it together.
Yes,
which I love to do. You had to
snap
put the
decals and everything.
So we'd be driving home at 9:00 at night because we closed the mall.
Right,
and I'd be putting it together in the back of her car. She had a minivan where she's like, the first words are, "Don't open that." You hear the crinkle wrapper. I'm like, halfway through her sentence, I'm already wrapping it. I'm already opening it, snapping the pieces off. Before we get home, it's fully put together with decals on in the right place.
That's amazing.
In the effing dark.
Because I'd use the street
lights. As the street lights went by, it would light up the car for a brief moment. I'd read the manual and then put it on. I'd read the manual at the next light and then put on the sticker at the next light. As the street lights were going by the car, I would, it was enough light for me to have the complete vehicle with decals on, with the figurine on the back of her seat playing.
And you're playing with it, She's
like, son of a bitch, that thing's together, isn't it? I'm like, you know it.
You know it.
You know it. I'm going to wait till I get all the way home. That's like 20 minutes from now. Are you crazy? That was huge for the toys.
G.I. Joe, again, I love the cartoon.
It did exactly what it was supposed to do. It sold me the toys.
Of course.
Absolutely sold
and there
me
was
the
so many,
toys.
The funny thing is, too, is they have like just the random G.I. Joe characters, right? That you would see for like one episode. But sure as shit, there's a figure out there of that randomness.
Did you see the G.I. Joe movie?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what is that
Loved
trope?
it.
So exactly who are you talking? You're talking about one specific character.
Oh, no.
No. There's one character in that movie.
Well, Hawk's brother?
Chuckles.
Chuckles
was the guy with the Hawaiian shirt on and the blue pants, blonde curly hair. They have a figure for him. He had no lines. He never spoke in the movie.
I'm staring blankly out the window because I'm trying to remember.
I think he laughed.
I'm gonna have to look him up.
So G.I. Joe movie, Chuckles.
But I did love that. That was great because that's where you got to see Serpentor. And then there was blood. People died. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
There was actual stakes to it. Because in the original show is red lasers versus blue lasers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like nobody died. Nobody ever gets shot. They were like stormtroopers of the, you know what I mean, of the army world. Like nobody hit anything. That was the best. But yeah, so the movie was a great offshoot. And the other show that did a wonderful thing like that was Transformers, the other huge 80s show. And then they had the movie. They had the movie, right? So that increased the.
That was another, again, for those two. That was those two were definitely my.
I didn't have as many Transformers because they were far more expensive. Each individual one was more expensive because they were larger.
They were larger,
made out of metal or whatever.
And I sucked as a kid.
More individual than a $4 GI Joe.
Right.
Figure.
Well, and I sucked as a kid. I always had a hard time transforming them.
Oh, really?
Like, for whatever reason.
Some of them were more complicated than others.
That's why I hated Legos as a little kid, too. I love Legos. Now I love them. Yeah. But when I was younger, I had no patience. So with the Transformers, it's like, you got to take the arm, you got to twist it this way. Then you have to twist it this way. And then you open it.
Otherwise you break it. Yeah.
Right. I had no patience for that.
And if it didn't, sometimes it seemed like they didn't go back perfectly.
Exactly. And that bothered me.
Like a bend in the neck of Starscream. Like, why is it bent? You know what I mean? Do you see him?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Blonde hair,
Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, Chuckles.
Yeah.
No lines.
Yeah.
But there's a figure.
But there absolutely is a figure. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
what the actual?
Yeah. But you introduced Jinx at that point.
Right.
You know
so
I mean?
yeah, in that movie,
kick.
Yep. You introduce a lot of other
Bruce
people.
Lee figure, amazing.
Yeah. You introduce a lot of figures and a lot of people.
But you had the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar character, remember? But he wasn't Kareem. It was just an African American basketball player guy who threw the grenade.
Oh,
remember he launched
that's
the grenade?
right.
Big Lob. Big Lob. Yep. Big Lob was his name.
Well,
right? It introduced Tunnel Rat. It introduced
Tunnel Rat was pretty cool. I liked him.
The dreadlocks, as well as Sergeant Slaughter and his brigade.
Yep.
Slaughter's brigade, which were awesome. I had his Sergeant Slaughter. I had the tank that he had.
Yeah, the dreadlocks was Zartan, his sister, his brother.
Zarana and Zartan.
Yeah.
So Zartan, Zarana, and Xandar.
There you go.
Was his brother's name.
Yep. And then you had the Crimson Twins, which I really liked.
Tomax and Zama were awesome.
I liked them a lot.
Scar of the face. And their toy was great because they had that little grappling thing.
Yep.
But they had like the wheel on it, so one could each grab with
each
one
hand
could
grab one,
and fly down together.
Yeah. See, the movie
so
for
Pento
me
was awesome. I love
so awesome.
Not only was he awesome, but his flying chariot was awesome.
Yep.
Because you could make anybody ride it, and it was kind of cool. Like they stole it from him or whatever, and it was so easy in your little hands
and you can
to move around. So it was super cool. That's why like some of the smaller vehicles like that, the flying ones were awesome because you could keep in your little hands.
You could actually use them, right?
It wasn't like the Sky Striker, which was huge and kind of cumbersome to play with. Awesome. Same with the Night Raven. It was awesome, but it was huge.
But they're just big.
Little hands to play with.
Yeah,
and
it's like
around.
What are you supposed to do with that?
Like the Night Raven had the other plane on top of it. Remember?
Yeah, you can pull that one off.
To play with. So you play with that one more often because it was easier for your little 6-year-old hands to play with. So yeah, there was including the Terradrome had the little red fighter with the wings folded out.
Oh, that's right.
Folded on top because they could fit in the center and they folded out. That was so cool. There was a one-man plane.
See, for me, it was easier to have the actual figurines instead of having the toy. This Jeep and that plane and this plane and that. That was too much
I wish
in my later years,
I wish like cell phones were back then, okay? Because I would have many more pictures. My room was ridiculous, but not just ridiculous with toys. Ridiculous in that my OCD would come into play. So I had my toy box in the center under the window, and both to the left of it and all wrapped around the entire room were all the vehicles lined up perfectly. Jeeps with Jeeps.
You were one of them.
Everything lined up, so everything was lined up, ready for takeoff. Backed in.
Oh yeah.
So you can just pop it in and pull out.
Pull right out.
Right.
Oh yeah. And when you put it back in, it's got to go back the same way. Oh, yeah.
So I love that meme. It's like you call it OCD, I call it put the shit back where it fucking goes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Back in its place. Like that's me. I was that person. Put my shit back where it belongs. It's not OCD. That's where it goes.
That's where it goes. That's where it belongs. That's where you put it.
So there's no like, oh shit, where's my Skystriker? Or where's my helicopter?
It's right
there where I put it.
Yep.
I know where I can play with it in an instant. You know what I mean? And even the stuff in my toy box was very well organized. Within cases, my Star Wars figures had, a C-3PO case, which I think I still have. Well, little figures with their names.
That's what I never had. I never had any like
freak my mother
Wars.
out. You could just dump a pile of weapons on the ground. I could tell you every person that weapon went to.
Yes, that's insane.
Exactly whose blaster that was.
It's the same blaster, just a different color.
But I knew whose it was.
But you knew who it was.
I knew who it belonged to. That was crazy. So you got Transformers, you got G.I. Joe.
Yep.
I mean, those are kind of the big ones. He-Man, obviously, was arguably the next, because that was kind of the first one. Like, essentially, right? Because He-Man was 83. but Transformers was 84. Ninja Turtles wasn't until 87. Thundercats was 85. Inspector Gadget, we'll talk about that one, which I loved. Actually, G.I. Joe was 83 as well.
All right, those are the early ones.
Still, let's see. G.I. Joe was so that was September 12th, and He-Man was September 5th. So by air date, it beat it by a week.
Great.
A whole week, right?
A whole week.
And by then, I'm sure I didn't wait for the first season. There wasn't like today where shit's coming because there's Instagram and Facebook and
right.
all kinds of stuff to tell you that this is coming up.
Not just so you put on the TV and it's on. It's like,
shit, hey kids, and they had commercials for some of that stuff too.
Sure,
like, hey,
they did.
Coming in next week, new show. The commercials. It is a trip to go back and watch the old commercials. Even to watch the commercials of the toys.
There's certain commercials back then that I don't think would fly nowadays, though.
Definitely not. Definitely not. But some of them were just kind of fun. We're like, and I've heard this on other podcasts before too. Like you watch these commercials. Let's say it was a Star Wars, and the kids are like doing dialogue from what sounds like dialogue from the movie, but it wasn't ever in the movie. Like that wasn't in the movie.
Yeah,
Yoda never said that.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, I think that could have been a trademark thing.
Hopefully they'd have the trademark since they were doing it.
Well, right, but who knows how the trademarks worked back then? It's like, hey, you can use the image, but you can't use the line.
Yes.
Or,
So we're talking mainly. So far, we're talking like really those sort of
those mainstream,
the mainstream show. But there are other mainstream shows that were different. Okay, these were like the bang shoot 'em up, fighting, He-Man, saving the universe type of things. Ninja Turtles hit in '87, and the game changed. Like Ninja Turtles is still a viable product. G.I. Joe, they still make them, but it doesn't have the
I think what happened.
Ninja Turtles.
Well, I think what happened was the reason why G.I. Joe kind of fell a little bit is when they tried to relaunch the movies.
Yeah,
I don't think the movies did well.
No, they sucked.
So I think that
they did. They sucked.
Even
the new Snake Eyes movie, which
I didn't see Snake Eyes yet, and that's one when I saw the previews, I was like,
movie.
Ooh.
It's a fun movie that doesn't need to be tied to G.I. Joe because it kind of like makes it weird that it's tied to G.I. Joe.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, when I first saw the previews for it,
it's a taller guy. It's like, which Snake Eyes shouldn't be as short as Ray Park, but that's, it doesn't matter. He's almost another Kingpin. So the point is, hi Mila. So, when you have that character, you got to do him justice. And the whole movies weren't done justice to the TV show.
So I think that's part of it, right? Like the people of our age, like we remember G.I. Joe from our child. We went to watch it. We were like, wow, that sucked.
Bringing the movies is like you have this whole lore and history and you ignore it.
And it turned out to be
You don't make anything
shit.
original. You don't do anything, origin story. You don't do anything the way the show did it. And you don't even have a lot of the same characters. Like the core not there. You're almost making up new characters.
Right.
And then their origins are different. And then they don't look, other than Snake Eyes.
Well,
he's the only one in both those movies who looked like the actual character from the movie. Even
Baroness?
Yeah.
But wasn't that a wig, though?
To a certain degree, right? But even Cobra Commander, who had a helmet on, didn't look like, it was a new version. I didn't like it. He looked stupid.
Yeah.
Destro didn't become Destro to the very end of the first movie. You know what I mean? It still didn't look like him. You were better off just doing a CGI helmet, mask that can move his face and chrome his head. Essentially like a Terminator 2.
Yeah,
just chrome his head.
Look, there's a lot of things that they could have done to really fix that movie, and they didn't. I think what they went with,
they had a second shot at it, a second bite of the apple, and they still screwed it.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that one either. Though.
Better, but it still
I don't think I saw that
but it was
one.
still like. Then you bring in Bruce Willis as the original. He is
G.I. Joe.
He's Joe.
Right. That's right.
He's
that's
Joe. Right. Like he's retired. Like okay. I don't understand this. Where's Hawk? Where's Duke? You kill off 90% of the people in the second movie. They're all gone.
Flint. That was Hawk's brother, right? Was Flint?
Flint. No.
No.
Flint. It was Hawk. It was Falcon.
Okay.
Falcon was his brother or something like that. The Falcon came in. He was played by Don Johnson.
Yeah. Well, that I knew.
He was Flint's brother.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was that sort of thing. So he.
So wait a minute. So wait.
Remember, he was a punk.
Right. So wait.
Kind of a punk
the two main guys. It was Colonel Flint and Duke.
No. So General Hawk was the head. And then Duke was like basically the general. He was captain. He was basically captain.
He was the blonde guy, right?
Yeah, he was Duke.
Yeah, he was Duke.
And then under him was Flint.
That's right. And under him was Flint, and then
under Flint was Falcon, essentially.
And Falcon was Flint's brother.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. That's right. That's how that whole lineage. As we go back to the G.I. Joe movie.
Yep.
Where people died
with Cobra La.
Cobra La 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 la.
It disturbed me the fact that you changed Cobra Commander's origin, but not too much.
Yeah.
Not too much. Like so I kind of brought it back into a more understandable, other than he was just a used car salesman who now wants to take over the world.
Right.
That really didn't, even in the 80s, that kind of didn't really fly for me.
Yeah.
It made more sense. He was this guy, a part of this whole underground, thing. He came out and they sent him out into the world to dominate. That makes way more sense.
I think with the movies,
he's wearing the mask and you never see his face because of his, because they deform him with the spores and the whole
right.
thing.
I like it. Actually, that's how they did. I mean, that I kind of like that aspect of it.
I actually enjoyed that change. I think, one of the few.
Right. I think with the movies, though, is that they just tried to go with names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marlon
Wayans was in him.
Channing Tatum is in it. The second one you have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Right.
Dwayne Johnson in it
because he's playing Roadblock, which obviously makes sense.
Which we talked about in the last podcast.
Yeah.
She's in there.
So all these they went with names instead of trying to put together a good story.
Yeah, or make it look like the actual G.I. Joe.
Yeah, something decent.
Yeah.
And I think that's
to me that was like X-Men. The original X-Men, you have some names. Yep. Right, you have some names and don't make it look like anything like the actual comics.
Right,
it's X-Men loosely
based on,
kind of based on different team, different origin team.
Right, and I think that when they did that with G.I. Joe is they went with the names. The people that are our age that are like, wow, that really sucks. Yeah. Like that's bad. And then you have the younger people that are like, I don't really get the story. And I think that's why it kind of.
But that's the point. You have all this history and you completely ignore it.
Yeah, why not ride with it?
It's not okay.
Because they want to do something fresh and new.
It's not okay. Who is going to see this movie?
Us.
The people who lived through it, lived with this stuff in the 80s, who raised ourselves on this stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't make it anything like what we remember. So why do I have a point to going to see it again?
I'm not going to go see it again. I'm not going to bring people to see it.
You don't make your money on people's first viewings. You make money, people go see it again and again and again.
And also,
that's how you reach your budget. So that's when you clear your budget.
And if you have a crap movie and your targeted audience is quote unquote little children or young kids, you're going to get the adults that watched it. We're going to bring our kids. Yeah. If you put together a good product, I'm going to bring my child with me because I'm like, oh my God, you're going to love this because this is what I loved. It's a shit movie. I don't like it. My kids see that I don't like it. They're like, and I'm not going to be like, oh, don't you want that toy? They're not going to be like, oh, I want that toy, Daddy. Because it's like, well, why? That everything about it just sucks. Yeah. So it's like there's no continuity. It just sucks.
It's none.
And that's why nobody talks about G.I. Joe anymore.
You wonder why the studios won't learn. I mean, like at this point, you have a blueprint. You have the Marvel blueprint, the Marvel/Disney printing money blueprint.
Maybe they don't want to, follow somebody else's trend.
You don't want to follow people who are making the most money, who have all the money, who are making the billions.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, I understand what you're saying, but that's so short-sighted.
Of course.
Just do what they're doing.
They want to do it their way. It's like, all right, you suck.
It hasn't worked.
Clearly,
it's not going to work.
Right.
And not even. It didn't work before the Marvel movies started coming.
Right.
It's definitely not going to work now. Yeah. Now that we have that to compare
you
against,
we have the blueprint. We know what works.
Shooting yourself in the foot when you don't even at least attempt to do that.
To follow some sort of pattern or line.
Yeah. Although I did hear, there's always been rumors. There's a couple rumors always going around. One, they're going to eventually make a Thundercats movie.
That has been something that's been going on for the last 35 years.
Now is the time to do it. Because you have all the technology.
You have all the technology.
You can make them look amazing.
But how do you
still fuck them up? But
that's what I'm saying. Like, this is something that you would have to do. Like, I've seen plenty of fan art and fan art movies. What you need to do is
sell the property to Disney and Marvel and let them deal with it.
That'd be a great idea.
Like, give it to Kevin Feige and let him deal with it and make an actual thing.
That'd be awesome.
And then the other one is there's the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover. Because they did that in the comics multiple times.
They did. I didn't get into those comics.
This is one of my favorite shows. So going back to cartoons, Mask is still threatening to do a Mask movie.
I liked Mask. That was another cartoon that I got into.
I love it. Had all the figures and most of the figures and ships. But that one, that to me feels one like you could play with a little bit. You could play, you know what I mean? Like the characters were awesome. but you keep them, but they don't have to look pitch perfect.
I think
they're interchangeable to a certain degree.
For me, I liked Mask.
Yeah.
But for me, Mask was like the GoBots.
Yes, the redhead stepchild. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, for those of you that don't know what GoBots are, they're the cheap version of the Transformers.
Yeah. What was the cousin's name in Brady Bunch?
Oliver.
Their cousin Oliver. They're the cousin Oliver of the Transformers.
Yeah, so it's like, I liked Mask.
It's a really bad ripoff.
But it's like we've already seen this with G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
It's like, they kind of took G.I. Joe, but different, right? It's like G.I. Joe crosses with like James Bond type with the gadgets and the cars and the flying cars.
And I did love
put the mask on.
I love the motorcycle that turned into a helicopter because that was one of my favorite ones to play with.
And then the bad guy had a helicopter that turned into a plane, and they got the masks, and they sit around the round table. Mayhem. Yes.
He played with the he had the
helicopter. So Mask was really cool.
Because not only was the concept cool, the way they actually produced the vehicles was cool. Like they actually worked well.
Yeah,
they didn't fuck up a lot. They, you flip the switch. I
had the main car.
Yeah, the red. It was a Camaro. Was it Camaro or Fire? It was one of those like a Firebird or something like that. It was pretty awesome. I've seen it recently at the comic store, Comically Speaking, in North Reading. They have it. They have a bunch of the mask stuff like that. It's like it's all I can do not to reach in the case. Go, yeah, I'll take this.
Yeah, right.
But at this point, I'd almost want like one in the box. I don't know why. But but they have like a lot of loose stuff.
Right. I mean?
But anyway, so they have those, and those vehicles were really put together well. They really worked well. Like Mayhem's thing, you had the button that turned the
turns. Yeah, they didn't snap and break on you really easy.
They were robust enough that you could do it over and over again. Like that helicopter, the motorcycle. I've transformed that thing back and forth constantly. Yeah. It didn't have anything to move the propeller blades. You had to do it by your hand.
You're right. It was tiny. It was small. There wasn't a lot to it.
If they tried that, it probably would have broken. But the wheel that pops out and then pops back underneath, and the skids that come down, like that was just really well thought. It was an easy transformer.
Yes.
So remember you're talking about you had a hard time transforming?
Yes.
They were easy to transform. It was a flick switch, maybe move the wheel, and you're off to the races.
And it was
You've got to transform. They had a Corvette. I don't know if you remember, there was a black Corvette where the whole front flipped over, and that was a boat. Because that rounded top of the Corvette that kind of comes down.
I don't remember that.
It flips upside down.
I love Corvettes,
so the whole the whole hood.
So the whole hood flips over.
Flips, so that rounded portion becomes the underneath of the boat.
So it becomes a boat.
And not only did it have that, but it had a red blade discs, almost like saw blades, but they're giant. You flick the button and they fire out.
I remember that. Yes. That's right. That's right.
They had the orange Jeep that would flip up, and the boat, like almost like a canoe, would shoot out. Would shoot out from underneath it.
Yeah.
They had some really kick-ass vehicles that worked really, really well.
And what I really also what I liked,
Optimus Prime, the 18-wheeler. That was had like that one. The launcher for the missile was kind of rough.
But you know what though? But I think that's on a lot of toys that launch something like that. It never works because it's a cheap little thin piece of spring, and it's a choking hazard, right?
Hence the Boba Fett. The prototype Boba Fett that they stopped making. So
the thing about the whole launching thing, anything that launches, right? Whether it was a ship or a gun, anything that we bought as a kid, the spring after a while it just didn't work anymore because it's just a thin piece of spring.
The plastic that would launch the spring
would snap.
Like a hook.
And
that would hold it down.
That would get round out. So it didn't work anymore. So anything that launched like that. What I did like about the mask was they weren't masqueraders for 24 hours a day. It was
they had Relive.
They had Relive.
They had the little watches.
They had the watch that would beep.
It was one of those shows that every episode, who's going to be in?
It was always somebody new.
Depending on what mission they needed, people would have the skill set to complete that mission.
That was a cool thing. I really liked it.
If you liked certain characters, they wouldn't necessarily be in every episode.
Right.
So it was like, oh shit, is my favorite? Is that guy going to be in this episode? And there was some they used every time.
Yeah.
There's obviously the main guy, but like I think the guy on the motorcycle, like they used Soto, I think they used him pretty much every time. But there was definitely a few they did not use every episode.
I wanted one of those masks. I remember being a kid going, one. I want one. Like
Yeah.
I want, and I want it to do.
Find 3D print
but I want it to do everything that it says it does.
Sure, flying out the lasers, or
yeah, like I want to shoot lasers out of my helmet.
One had like a levitation property.
Yeah,
levitation.
like come
on.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Those things were so cool. I mean, but little things like that. That brought me
great show. I just thought it was a wonderfully done show. Not a long. It only had a couple seasons.
Yeah,
but like most of the shows back then, they only had a few seasons and they were done.
They only had but I feel like they were constantly on
the
though.
Toys aren't selling as much.
Right, but I think they go into syndication and then we watched it.
That's again, they just make like a shit ton of episodes for 1 or 2, maybe 3 seasons.
Right.
They had enough for syndication, and that's it. There's no point. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
We can keep selling toys because we can just keep making a new line of Stinkors because who cares? We don't necessarily need a new one on a show. But it's the same character, because you're still watching the show.
Yeah.
We can just make the new He-Man, the fake Or. We can make the battle damaged He-Man.
The battle damaged He-Man was awesome when it turned.
Yeah.
If you hit it.
It would flip, right? So but you don't need to see that on the show.
No.
This is He-Man who you're still watching on the syndicated show.
On the syndicated show,
we don't have to go through the
right.
process of, making new shows, paying voice actors,
It's
paying
the
the
new
animators.
line.
Yeah,
Sure.
We're making new episodes, but we're not making any episodes, but we're still making toys.
Yep.
Based on the show that's running, that's still in syndication.
Well, that's why when we talk about episodes, I was looking it up. I mean, Thundercats, the way that you buy them, they break it down is like, and if you look up quote unquote season 1, 65 episodes.
Yeah.
I think like I looked them up because I wanted to buy like a box set, but it was something like $300. I was like, but it's cartoon. It blew my mind to know how much.
It's on Amazon. I think you can just watch it.
Well,
on Amazon now.
Oh, well, now it's on. I have it. It's I can watch it on Hulu.
Yeah.
So I started watching them again. I started watching that, and just like how Mask is for me is like the GoBots. For the Thundercats, it was Silverhawks. Did you ever watch Silverhawks?
Oh yeah.
That was another one of mine. I really liked Silverhawks a lot.
So let's get into that because those are almost more on the Japanese end of it, right?
Right.
Silverhawks, Voltron.
Well, yeah, Voltron was Voltron was straight out of Japan. They just voiced over.
There was Gatchamen, which were like they had like the helmet. They look like birds. They have the clear like beak that comes out, and they have like the white. We have the wings with the different colors underneath. So you're looking confused, but I bet if you look it up, you'll recognize the characters. But I swear. And I cannot find it. Yeah, I swear the name of the show was something different back in the 80s. They were called something different. And I have not been able to find it. Either that or I'm just hallucinating like a son of a bitch because I know for a fact this show was called something different because I don't recognize the name, but I recognize the characters.
No, I can't unless I'm spelling it wrong.
Let's see if I can find
it. So as you're looking that up, that was really like in my wheelhouse. So it's like those I really like. I like the Silverhawks. I like Thundercats. I even played around and watched Tiger Sharks every once in a while. What the hell?
Right, with the helmet, with the clear helmet that look like a bird. Oh, they have the wing. Their capes are like wings.
That looks like Speed Racer.
It kind of looks. It's not Speed Racer. It definitely wasn't Speed Racer. But it's a Japanese show. It's called Gatchamen. But I swear, when it was in the U.S. back in the '80s, it was definitely.
See, I never saw that.
But it's a '70s show. But it was like, I remember watching it, and it was definitely something different when we were here. When it was here, but that's just me. Anyway,
okay.
All right, so you have that one. You have your Voltrons, which I liked. But some of them were like a little too far out for me. Like a lot of the space and sciencey shows were a little too like I guess for me it wasn't Earth grounded enough. Like even Thundercats was like on Earth, like New Earth or whatever they call it.
Third Earth.
Thank you.
Get the names right.
Third Earth,
and they helped everybody.
But it was on it. But the actual space like planetary like
right.
That to me was a little too like it played in too much of my my mom forgot me in Filene's abandonment issues, I guess. My brother telling me we're never going to see. Well, that's what my wife thinks. So I guess those one didn't like stick for me because I think they bothered me on a deeper sense.
Okay. I mean, you've got some issues.
As an 8-year-old, I didn't understand what the hell it was, why I didn't like him as much. As a 45-year-old, I do. Mid-40s, I understand more why they do. Okay. So now we have those shows. Now you have your more, and it's not the right word, but more cartoony shows.
Yeah.
Fun shows.
Yeah,
you're Bugs Bunny, but that's obviously not just 80s. They ran forever. They started back in the 60s. Now let's talk about one of my favorites, Smurfs. Started in 81. It's a really fucked up premise. Talk to me. All right, I love it. You are dying to talk about Smurfs. I can see it.
All right. So first and foremost, we're gonna dive into Little Larry.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I absolutely
sounds dirty that he meant it.
I know, right? Oh my God. I loved the Smurfs when I was a little kid.
Yes.
I had a Smurfs t-shirt that, you got at like the fair. It was like the t-shirt and they would like iron on your names or whatever. I had a Smurfs t-shirt and it said my name underneath it. Sure. I loved Smurfs. So at a young age, I realized that people have middle names. You just don't have a first and last. Well, me, I only have a first and last name.
Me too, I don't have a middle name.
Right. So when I was younger, I remember talking to one of my fearless leaders in my family, and because they all have like 15 names, I'm Portuguese, they have like a first, a middle, a second middle, a first last, and a second last name.
So basically your monogram looks like an eye chart.
Pretty much. Yeah. So when I found out that everybody had all these names, I go, well, I want a middle name. And they go, and they explained to me that, well, when you get older, you can have a middle name. Yeah. They said, if you wanted your middle name, what would you want your middle name to be? I looked them dead in their eyes and I said, Smurf.
There you go.
And they looked at me and they went, I'm sorry, what? I said, I want my name.
Honey, have them checked.
I wanted my middle name to be Smurf because I loved the Smurfs so much. And there's my thing.
He's driving in the car. He's calling the hump. He wants the hump. He shouldn't want the hump.
What?
Why do you want the hump, Larry?
And as I got older, that show is fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty out there.
It's
like a village full of guys and one woman.
Well, and they all look exactly the same, except for the leader who has a red hat on. Now, this is also a big theory that as I've gotten older, people have dove into.
Yeah,
and it's basically like a representation of that's what the USSR was, and Gargamel was America.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, this is what we're doing here?
Yes. You would think this little kids TV show has all these underlying, but and it's not to say that's not what was going on.
Who knows?
Who knows what's going on and what they were smoking back then to create these shows and what Peo was thinking
HP Love and stuff
when they
Puff and stuff?
HR Puff and stuff.
HR Puff and stuff. That's
and what Peo was thinking when he created the entire premise for the Smurfs. But like anything, you can read into, and sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Yeah,
but
you can find out what if you want to
look
think
at all the
something.
Theories now, and we were just talking about Hawkeye and the millions of theories about just the watch. You know what I mean? Like you could come up with anything that could kind of tie it, and if you think about it, you go, yeah, I could see how that could happen.
And
so
if you want to believe it, you absolutely will see it and go, no, this is what it is.
Yeah,
because
you can
that's
find
what
all
you
kinds
want.
of crazy evidence to support your theory.
Like you said, sometimes cigar is just a cigar.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes it's just a bunch of little blue people in a little
running
mushroom
around
village.
living in mushroom houses.
But I will say, to play to those theorists, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of they're in a mushroom village. You know what I mean? Like, I think the creators were too.
Possibly.
You know what I'm saying? I have a feeling the creators of the show were too, because then you just have Smurfette.
That was created
by Gargamel to defeat them. She had black hair and then switched, and then eventually you had the kids, and you had Sassette.
They explain. They explain the kids and actually, which
Baby Smurf.
The baby. So it's because it's like, well, wait a minute, it's all guys. Like it's all male Smurfs.
Yeah, it's a sausage fest. It's a blue sausage fest.
It's a blue right. How are they created?
Right.
They talk about the blue. They talk about the blue moon, and that's how they come underneath the blue moon. Yeah. And that's an easy write-off. And as a little kid, you're like, cool. And then you find yourself looking out the window.
It doesn't have to be like two Smurfs are banging. It's just they're hatched from a pod or a little cabbage or something. Like who knows?
How did they get the little girl though? I don't remember that one. How did
the three? Because it was Sassette and there was the two boys. There was two boys and a little girl.
Was she created?
I know they were adopted, but I think so. I have to look it up. I think they were.
Because now I'm thinking it's like
they found them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting show though. I had all the little figurines. I still have one in my office. I still have the Kung Fu one. He's wearing a karate uniform. He's wearing a Kung Fu with a black belt. Yeah, it's in my office. And I have at home. I have like the 4 Christmas ones.
Of course.
They're on my display.
Of course.
It's like Papa Smurfette and like 2 other ones who just like holding a Christmas lantern, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, I love it. There was a down the street from my house. There was Fox Pharmacy.
Okay.
I used to go to Fox's, and they sold them. My dad would go get cigarettes, and my mom would go in for something. It was literally like, quarter mile away from my house, right? So we go down there, or whatever, once a week, twice, whatever it was. My dad would get cigarettes, like I said, or my mom would just go and, need stuff. So my brother and I would go there, and these little little cardboard boxes, almost like when ornaments come in now, like with little Hallmark. These little cardboard boxes. And
little Smurfs were in there,
Little Smurf were in there, and I just I gotta get one.
I love the names.
And they were cheap, like they were inexpensive, like they weren't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that they nailed it.
Just little molded rubber, like
right. Well, I think that they nailed it right away because they were like, all right, we have 100 Smurfs, so we want people to buy all 100 of them.
Right. These can't be super expensive.
They can't be expensive because people aren't going to buy. It's not going to cost much to make them.
Right.
So if you just do a markup, just do a little bit of a markup, not too much, and people will buy all 100 of them.
And I did.
And I much rather, if I'm selling these things.
And I had Astro Smurf, and and it's funny, it's like, when you see them now, like they're super expensive. Like if you have like originals in the box, they're not cheap.
No, not at all. But I think that's how it is with all the collectible type things, right? All toys, like say things like glasses that you got from McDonald's when their 89 Batman came out. They came out with the glass. Remember, you could buy the glasses.
Yes.
There's the hard plastic glasses. Try finding one of those that's still in a box. You can't, because if you do,
these are the time they weren't meant to be collected.
Exactly. None of this stuff was meant to be quote unquote collectibles, right? Because at that time, it's like the things that people collected. I don't.
It was like stamps. You know what I mean?
Like those things but I mean, like when we were kids, it was like coin stamps, autographs, like things like
baseball cards.
Baseball cards.
Yeah.
It wasn't toys.
No.
You bought toys to play with and to destroy.
So
they wanted you to destroy them so you could buy more.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted.
The only way they could feed the beast is by selling you the next series.
But people got quick with it and said, hey, you know what? Let me stop picking up all these old stuff, and now you try to go get a Brainiac Smurf that's still in the box. It's going to cost you a couple of $100. Oh, he's such a pain in the ass. I hated him.
Him and Jokey were my two least favorite.
No, I like Jokey.
I fucking hated Jokey. I wanted to punch him in his mouth. Like, that used to piss me off. And what pissed me off more is that he'd give him the present and people would try to open it.
All the time.
You know this son of a bitch.
Happening.
You know what he's going to do.
Well, that's what you get.
What is wrong with you? You deserve to have an exploded face.
Yes,
that's
all
his
the time.
shtick. He explodes every present.
That's what he does.
And he'd be like, no, this one's for real this time. Like, oh, okay.
Okay.
How many times are you going to fall for that when you nitwit?
And that was the thing too. Like every Smurf, their name was literally like what they did. It's like, hey, there's Carpenter Smurf.
Was pissy, and, Hefty Smurf lifted weights.
The Chef Smurf.
Yeah, Chef.
Chef Smurf, or Cookie Smurf, or whatever his name was. But it's like, that's
Baker Smurf. Was it Baker?
Maybe
it was Baker. Yeah.
That's that. You knew that those were like the core vanity.
With the carry the mirror,
and the flower in his ear.
Yeah.
But that was like their name was what they did.
Yeah.
And then you had Papa Smurf.
Yep. Which is just Papa Smurf running the roost, running the whole show. Not a great show. I love that one.
I loved.
So let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Sorry.
It's okay. There's so many different topics and things to talk about because you have your things like the Smurfs, Garfield and Friends.
Heathcliff was another one.
Okay, so Heathcliff again is the GoBots of Garfield lore.
But is it?
Yeah, he is. He's a punk. He's not as bad as like Top Cat or whatever, but Heathcliff he's definitely the GoBots. Garfield was the mainstay. You look at the Sunday comics, Garfield's on the front page.
Yeah.
Heathcliff is buried.
Heathcliff is next to Family Circus, and there's like one panel in the back.
Thing. Like he was definitely.
But I like that was another one. I liked Heathcliff. I liked that cartoon watching it.
Yeah, I did not like Heathcliff.
Oh,
I loved Garfield. I could not take Heathcliff.
Whatever.
Something about Heathcliff just like bothered me. I don't know what it was.
I liked him.
I just thought he was a punk.
He was. That's why I liked him. He was an alley.
Well, that solved that problem.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. We just figured this out. Where did you grow up?
Newton.
Where did I grow up? Cambridge.
Oh, yeah.
You like Garfield.
Yeah.
I like Heathcliff.
Garfield.
There we go.
There it is. Done.
That's why. That explains everything.
It does because you identify with what you know.
Yeah. Literally.
Like you gravitate to what you know and what you see around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, this is like Newton in Cambridge of like early 80s. Not what a lot of cities are turning into now. So.
Right. No. Yeah. We're talking about early 80s. So it's definitely, the landscape was definitely different then.
Different. Yeah.
All right. So now let's go into some of the superhero shows like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
So I'm glad you brought this up because I was thinking about this. Whatever happened to Firestar?
Well, God bless her. God bless her little heart and her big boobs and her tight outfit.
Tight yellow. So I I was thinking about this the other day.
Created for the show.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I've
she
never
was
seen
created.
her
Iceman was, but she was created for the show. But then she had a life afterwards. They've done comics with her and things with it, and they keep threatening to bring her back. And do something with her.
So that's what I was wondering.
I would give my left nut to see her pop up in one of these Spider-Man movies.
Sure. So
how fucking cool would that be? Like once they bring in the X-Men, and Iceman pops into one of those. Because now they're talking about at least another 3 with Tom Holland.
Yep.
How awesome would that be?
It would be awesome. It would be great.
I don't care. It doesn't have to be the whole movie. I get that.
It would be great.
But at some point,
it would be great because
even if he just meets up and passes by,
that would be awesome.
You see Firestar, or you see Jessica Jones essentially, or whatever her name was. Oh God, what was her name on the show? It's not Jessica. It's Jessica something, right?
I couldn't even tell you, to be honest with you. I remember Firestar because, when they would put on their, they all 3 of them were like adults and they were all living together. And
Angelica.
There we go. And when it was time to go fight crime or whatever, go do their thing, you would see Iceman, he freezes himself into the big block of ice and he breaks out of it, and that's how he becomes Iceman.
And she opens her arms and just turns thermal, basically.
Right.
It just becomes Firestar.
That would be cool because I remember watching that and I didn't realize.
The apartment was their headquarters, everything flipped over.
Right, everything flips over, right? And at the time, I didn't realize until later on, the X-Men are actually in that show.
Yeah, they have a whole thing with
They
X-Men.
come in with the X-Men because that's where Bobby comes from. Bobby comes from the X-Men.
Technically she is too. At some point it kind of comes, there's an episode where she was a part of the original X-Men.
Okay. Maybe they'll play off of the Phoenix.
Yeah, they were doing this. I just watched it not too recently. It was within this year though, because with the pandemic, there's been a lot of extra TV time.
Yeah.
So I was
actually that has come up and I haven't watched it, but
because
they
have it on Disney
Plus, yes, they do.
Because they own the rights to the cartoon stuff, not necessarily all the movies, but the cartoon stuff. So they have all that stuff on there.
So I'm glad that you brought it up because that was my first introduction to really the superhero stuff, and that's actually Spider-Man was probably my first real superhero person I really liked because I loved it. I loved the cartoon.
Came out in 81.
I love the show, the Spider-Man show that he was in, which launched some of the other ones like Greatest American Hero, which is absolutely hilarious. Again, one of my favorite shows of all time. That was hilarious. The whole idea he just couldn't land.
Yeah. Well, the fact that he lost the manual twice.
Yeah.
the manual. How do you lose the manual? Guy you give the suit to? Yeah. He lost the manual twice. At some point, you're like, nah, you're too stupid.
What? Yeah, we
You see it as somebody who has a little bit more power to hold on to shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? A little bit more organized.
Yeah.
That was it was almost to me, that was their Gilligan's Island, where those idiots found themselves back on the island, stranded after they got home. And they took another. Why would you get another boat and do another tour?
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight.
Stay on the land.
Hold on. Time out. And this is something that's bothered me. You bring up Gilligan's Island, and that was a funny show that I did watch. Again, it came up before the 80s, but I grew up with my uncles and aunts, and they watched the show. So that was kind of their wheelhouse. But something that got me, even as a little child, I go, wait a minute, you have a professor that is building radios and builds this, and you can't build a boat?
Cannot fix a hole in a fucking boat.
You have all this wood around you. These are trees. You mean to tell me that you can't build a fucking raft?
Fix the hole in the boat.
Fix the hole in the boat. I don't understand.
Well, he built radios out of coconuts.
They build houses and they build a boat.
Fix the
hole in the boat. And get the fuck off. I don't understand why you've been there.
It's tough when you do that, when you have the way out and you don't use it, and you're making everybody struggle to watch the fact that they don't use their very easy way out, the very easy way off the island, and you don't ever think.
And then they get rescued, and now they're in New York, and they're like, hey, let's go on another cruise.
I'd be like, hell no.
I'm not going on a ship with either one of you two idiots.
With me on all those years on that island? No.
I didn't like you.
I didn't like you to begin with. Why am I going to get another little cramped boat?
No.
And then back on that damn island. That was ridiculous. Damn it. And it's a TV show, so you kind of they have to do that to get there. I get that. But it was still funny, very frustrating. All right. So Spider-Man, The Amazing Friends, and then the flip side, and this started in the 70s, though, but it was very much to the 80s, was Super Friends. Because it had many iterations. Right?
Yeah.
It was Super Friends, and then there was, they did the whole Legion of Doom stuff.
Well, it was a lot of the Hanna-Barbera 70s stuff that was coming out that was still playing into the 80s. So.
Right, but they kind of reinvented a little bit. They reinvented, they changed it up a little bit. So that was, for me, that was fun. I enjoyed I said this before, I was more of a DC person than Marvel. I love Spider-Man as Amazing Friends, and eventually when they had, the newer Spider-Man and the X-Men series, which is coming back again.
Can't wait. I really, really like that.
Yes, but I was more of a DC person, so I grew up watching Super Friends and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I watched Super Friends. I did like it. Again, you have your mainstays in the DC universe. For me, you got your Superman, you got Wonder Woman, you got Batman. I was watching the Batman series because, Batman 66 was in syndication at that time. So I was watching that on Channel 38, so I knew who Batman was.
Yep.
I watched Superman the movie.
Yep.
So I knew who he was. I fell asleep
during Superman the movie. When I was in theaters, I was a little kid.
We have Linda Carter as Wonder Woman. So, as far as the DC stuff, those were the people. The other ones around that table, I could care less.
Yeah.
The twins were funny, but I like their monkey better.
Yeah.
But
which
they make a.
Oh, they made that reference to in the DC show.
I was just gonna say.
Me off. They have got to pay that off at some point.
They have to. So you
haven't had the Wonder Twins in yet.
No.
And you show me the Gleep's cage,
yep,
and you fucking hear him. And this past season in Armageddon, we're back at the Hall of Justice because something, this whole thing is happening, and Reverse Flash is basically causing all these problems. They don't know that he's causing Armageddon, so he's making Barry's life miserable. So they lose Star Labs. Like the government has to take it over because there's a leak that they didn't know about. It's this whole thing.
Okay.
There's basically like a nuclear leak underneath the ground, so they lose Star. They have to go out of Star Labs because they're basically going to cement it over.
Okay.
So he needs a base. He needs something to do. So he ends up back at the Hall of Justice, which is a Star Labs. Second warehouse eventually. But I thought that was really cool because they make the front look like the old 80s Hall of Justice. I thought that was really well done. So you go there, you have all this experience, you have Gleek, and you don't ever pay it off.
So there,
son of a bitch, way to cock tease somebody and not doing give me something.
Talk about
Jesus.
the edge. So the only reason why I saw that was because I was watching Batwoman the series.
No.
Okay, I didn't mind it. I wanted to see a different take on things.
Yeah.
So I never minded the Batwoman. Any rendition of
I still
one.
watch it. I still watch it because I like the continuity.
So I watched season 1, and I think that's when. So I was binge watching it, and then it was and then the title was that was the title. It was because the Paradox.
Yeah.
So it was the Paradox Part 3, and I'm like, wait, where's Paradox Part 1 and 2? And then I had to look it up and realize that it was off of the other shows.
Yes.
So then I was
crossover stuff happens on multiple shows.
Which I love crossovers.
Yeah, but they do that in comics too.
Right, that's why. So I like it how they do it.
Part of Infinity Crisis happens in a Flash comic. Part of it happens in a Superman comic.
Right.
Part of it's in a Justice League comic. Yeah. You have to,
so when I saw
it's a good way to get
that,
you to buy all the comics. But it's also a good way to get you into the other shows you may not have been watching.
I mean, the Infinity War was like that.
We're going to put this episode on Batwoman that you're not watching, but now it's on Batwoman. And if you want to know about it, you have to watch that show.
And that's what I did.
Maybe you'll start watching Batwoman.
So I watched. I was like, oh, this is part 3 of it. So I had to go and look online to go, okay, well, where's part 1? So I watched part 1, it was Flash and the Supergirl, and I was like, oh, so I watched all these other shows just to get to the ending of that one. That one was pretty cool. But that's how I saw, because Green Arrow dies in it.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're we need to honor him. He
becomes a Spectre.
Oh.
He gets taken over by the Spectre. He gets the Spectre power, but then he dies. And what pissed me off is you killed him, but he could just be the Spectre. But Stephen Amell didn't really want to do it anymore. He's been doing it for so long.
Oh, okay.
He kind of bowed out of doing it, and that's why they shut the show down.
Well, I mean, that's probably I don't.
They were gonna do the new ones. You know what I mean? The Mockingbirds or whatever. The not the Mockingbirds, the Canaries.
Oh,
but,
right.
They haven't really done anything with it except for the Flash. They're kind of showing up in the next episode.
Okay.
Because they're kind of bringing it. This Armageddon it's basically their new version of a crossover.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Not Kara, but her sister from Danvers from Supergirl's in it. The non-superpowered sister's in it. She's in there. Batwoman's in there. So you're having pulling in Black Lightning's in there. They're pulling in characters from other shows.
I remember that show. Yeah, they come up with that.
Into this Flash 6 episode, whatever it is.
Okay. I mean, so that's another thing too. When it comes to the DC stuff, it's just there's so many things going on. I never got into them.
I love them.
And by the time that people started talking about all these arcs and this and that, it was Green Arrow's already in season 5. And, Flash, which I kind of sort of liked Flash. It wasn't a big thing, but it's all right, you run really fast. It's
he was always my favorite character.
He, it was season 3 or season 4, whatever. It's they're so deep into it. And there's so many other shows that are involved in all these crossovers. When I first started hearing about it, 'cause it's wow, to me, it's it's really cool. I want to watch it. but I don't want to watch, 3 years worth of shows in 2 months. You know, it's like, ugh.
All right, so the 80s.
Cartoons.
The 80s. The 80s, the 80s, the 80s.
80s, sorry.
To me, one of the biggest essences of the 80s cartoons, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like the tie-in era. Anything that was anything, a movie, whatever, they had a fucking tie-in show, a cartoon. They did a Back to the Future cartoon. There's Camp Candy.
Oh, yeah.
John Candy did a show.
There was a shitload of those. You're right. There was a ton of stuff, like
Rambo and the Forces of Freedom.
Remembered watching that.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a ton of, shows like that just, Pac-Man had, Ewoks had a show. Mr. T had a show.
Yeah, show. Zelda had a show.
You know what I mean?
Laser tag.
They had their own... Hulk Hogan and the Rock and Wrestling, you know what I mean? They had their own new stuff, like the Wuzzles or whatever. You had Defenders of the Earth. You had Alf had obviously an animated show. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you have your strictly created for cartoon shows, but then you had this was a TV show or a movie, and now it's a cartoon. It's a cartoon.
Yep. That was huge.
Huge.
Beetlejuice was a cartoon.
Right.
I remember watching that. Yeah, you're right. There was the 80s was, they were just trying to.
Super Mario Brothers had the Super Show. Like that was another one.
Yeah. They just basically said, hey, let's try to get as much money and put it on as many platforms as we possibly can. Yeah. Because now, it's the 80s. So we got, let's see, what do we have for gaming systems? Babies. I could actually do the whole song. We have, as far as gaming systems go, we have Nintendo. Mm-hmm. We do have Sega. Was the original Sega, not before they went to the discs. They had just the cartridges.
Genesis.
No. Sega Genesis was the second one. They had an original Sega.
Okay.
The original Sega was a block, and then the Genesis, I believe, is when they moved over to the CDs.
Right. Yeah, sounds like I had Genesis.
They had ColecoVision, but Coleco was...
I had Coleco.
So Coleco was more in like the 70s, and
I had Atari.
I had the Atari.
I had Coleco that had the Atari adapter, so you could plug it into the front. It was like this little box, and you could play your Atari games through it. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I had the two separates. I inherited Coleco. I inherited Coleco, but then I had Atari 2600.
Like why bother having two things hooked up? Because then you have to keep. There wasn't like a multi-port HDMI port.
Right.
Yeah,
the one.
You had to keep taking it off.
Yeah. That sucks.
What a pain in the ass is unscrew it. So, and they had those little prongs, right, that you had to put the screw on to because it would interrupt the UHF signal.
Yep.
So, Coleco was smart. They made an Atari adapter. You could plug it in.
See, that's definitely smart.
Fucking controller with the knob and the number pad.
With the number pad
worked on one game. I forget. Mike told me what it was. Adventures of something. What the hell it was? There was literally one game that the number pad worked for.
Yeah, I never played a game for that.
I never played that. That's why I remember the name.
But when we got the Nintendo, that was. First of all, it was like the color and the graphics for it were unbelievable.
Yep.
Because again, we had
Excite Bike, pro wrestling.
Yeah. Well, the pro wrestling was awesome. Hit someone with a 5-star splash.
The star. With
the star man. He had the mask with a star. It was like a pink mask. Yep. But so now we have some of those games off the Nintendo that were also in 80s cartoons. Like I said, we had Zelda, we had
Mario Brothers, things like that. Yeah.
So they were
Dungeons
taking
and Dragons. That was a good cartoon show.
That was an awesome cartoon.
That was really good.
They had.
Did you know I had those figures? Of course. That's a fucking running thing.
I'd be more surprised if we talked about something that you didn't.
I was from Newton.
He was from Newton.
We did Heathcliff. Fucking, you couldn't pay me enough.
Yeah. There you go. Because
to have a Heathcliff toy.
Snooty bastard.
Shit. I had the Silverhawks. I had those. I had a Pound Puppy.
Pound Puppies and Cabbage Patch Kids.
I had a Cabbage Patch.
There's your tie-in,
right? I had
the
dog, the Cabbage Patch dog. They came out with animals. Yeah, I forget what the name was. They came out with like an animal version.
So we're talking about toys
Danger
coming
Mouse.
out.
Oh.
Danger Mouse was really cool, and his little guy Mole.
Yes, I have the pop figure. Danger Mouse. They never made a mole, but they have Danger Mouse pop figure. It was a convention exclusive. I have them. Awesome. Yeah. Fucking awesome. I remember Danger Mouse was like my brother's favorite.
Okay.
So I literally have the pop figure in honor of my brother. I love Danger Mouse, but not as much as he used to draw Danger Mouse, things like that.
Oh, wow.
He was good at cartoon drawing.
Okay.
I was better at realistic drawing, still life and things like that. He was really good at cartooning.
At cartoons, sure.
So he would draw Danger Mouse all over the place. I literally got the pop figure for him.
For me, Danger Mouse, I like Danger Mouse, but right there, it's like for Hong Kong Phooey. Loved Hong Kong food.
Oh, yeah.
So as we get later on in the 80s, because now I feel like we're getting into like the USA Network, the USA Cartoon Train, stuff like that. And
Go back a little bit. Thundar the Barbarian. That was a fucked up show. I'm sorry, that was screwed up. That used to freak me out. I love the glowing sword, but like the monster dude that he was with,
yeah, a lot. Some of those were a little off.
Some of the shows are bad. They're weird.
Some of those shows were definitely. I mean, look at them now.
More people sitting in the Mushroom Village.
Yeah, there was
hanging out with the Smurfs, creating Thundar the Barbarian.
And what was the with Gleep and Glop?
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera did those. It was like the rhino that was shooting the things out of his head, and there was a lot of weird things going on.
And of course, you had your shows aimed at the girls like Gem and Rainbow Bright.
Yeah,
things like that.
So did you?
I was just going to ask you. I didn't have those toys.
But
I didn't have those, but I did watch them.
Because here it is. You get home from school. And it's like at that time it was 2:00, right?
Yeah.
You get home, and from like 2 to 6 on every single channel, whatever channel, there was cartoons. Yeah. And so you would put it on at 2:00 because
they'd have the women's shows, your General Hospital. Those would be earlier,
right?
For the stay-at-home moms.
The stay-at-home moms, right?
School, I could watch my shows, and then the kids would come home, and the cartoons would start. And the
from like 2 to 6,
off,
from 2 to 6, you're watching,
Alf,
Mask,
the animated series,
Bionic 6, G.I. Joe. So you're watching all
G.I. Joe was on every day.
G.I. Joe was on every day, right? And so that was another thing too. Like some of these shows only showed on certain days. It wasn't. They weren't on every day because they needed room.
The ones that had like 90 episodes per season,
they were on
every day.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, watching like Gem. What the hell was Gem on after? Or was it? It was either on after something that I was already watching. It was on before it, so I just wanted to get the channel on.
Sure.
So it was on.
Yeah.
So you end up watching
that was the genius of the program directors. They know it's a little less popular show, put it on or before or after a popular show, and we're gonna raise the ratings on that show. And that still happened. Like just in our terms, the Comic Book Men show only had ratings because it was on after Walking Dead. And then they kind of fucked with it because then it would be like on after Talking Dead. And that was fine.
Yeah.
And then it really started to lose life because they would do Walking Dead, Talking Dead, and rerun Walking Dead, and then put on Comic Book Men. But that would happen at like midnight or 1:00 in the morning. And that pissed me off because I liked the Comic Book Men show, and that's when I started to lose little ratings. So they stopped doing the show.
Oh yeah, and you put it on at midnight
in the morning, you assholes. Because you're running a second episode of The Walking. You're re-showing the same episode.
Same episode.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but Walking Dead was already coming on late.
Or I got whatever. You don't need to rerun it. I can just rewind mine and watch it.
Wasn't Walking Dead? I mean, didn't that come on like 10 o'clock or something like that?
No, it was on like 9.
Was it 9?
Yeah, because then like the Talking Dead would be on right after it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. There's a show.
That was creepy.
That was creepy.
Teddy Ruxpin was. What about
the first animatronic toy that really
that was just weird. What about gummy bears?
Love can still do the song.
That's another one for me too. I really like the way that they bounce is because of the gummy juice.
Yep, that's right. No, that wasn't at all thought through. Sitting in the Mushroom Village talking about their gummy juice.
Yeah,
that would allow them to do stuff.
Weirdos.
It's just the way it was. Oh, the one you were talking about was Inhumanoids. Was it Inhumanoids with Gleep and Glop and all that?
Yes. There we go. Yep.
That was one of them.
I just had
and I mean, between Filmation and Hanna-Barbera, they were like the two main ones, I think. Like those are the two biggest.
Those were the two that you were seeing.
Your Flintstones, your Jetsons, your Huckleberries, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Top Cat, who was fucking useless. The Wacky Races, I could never get behind. But again, we're not talking 80s anymore.
I like the Wacky Races, though. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I can't.
Yeah,
Quick Draw McGraws.
Yeah.
I guess those are like old enough. They're too behind my time.
So I mean, I watched
them
all.
Like the Magoos and things like that. I mean,
Mr. Magoo is awesome.
My father drive to do that now. That's the same fucking thing.
I mean, but those were a lot of those 70s.
Now can we get out of this bush?
Those were all 70s cartoons, like mid to late 70s that rolled into the 80s. And
yeah, I like Scooby Doo, but like it part bothered me. But I love, you know what I mean. But I love Scooby Doo, but like it's like a love hate with Scooby Doo.
I liked them. For me,
I like Scooby, and I even like Shaggy. You know what I mean? And I like the gang, but like the ghosts and stuff. Maybe it was the ghosts and things like that. And even though they were real people, and they would have got away with those meddling kids.
Maybe that's why you don't like it, because you wanted ghosts and it wasn't ghosts. It was actual real people.
Captain Caveman. It's a little 70s, but god damn.
Captain Caveman was awesome. There's people actually that I make reference to now, and they have absolutely no idea. And I use Captain Caveman all the time. And they're like, where did you even come up with that? I was like, it was a character, it was a cartoon. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
it's a cartoon Cousin It, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Speed Buggy? It was literally like an animated buggy, like a little, like almost like a dune buggy with little eyes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I didn't watch that because for me it was kind of like a ripoff of Herbie the Love Bug.
Yeah, it totally was. That's
exactly so and I like the Herbie, but I wasn't too much into that one though. As we sit there and scan all these.
So what were some of your, I probably should host the show. So what were some of your least favorite? Like, where were some of the ones, like, again, I say that these are the eyelid shows, ones you wouldn't watch if they're playing on the inside of your eyelids? Obviously, with the last hour, because literally it's been an hour.
Jesus.
We've been gushing, an hour and 10, actually. We've been gushing about shows that we love.
I don't know. So, I mean, like, I thought about this, like, what are shows that I wouldn't watch? But it's like...
Like, are there any shows? Because there's definitely shows for me, there were some of the ones like the Inhumanoids and things like that, where they were just too out there for me. So if it was on, I would switch the channel. Even if there was a show after it, which was kind of a pain in the ass, if there's a show after it I liked, like, I just wouldn't watch it. Like, it just... As a kid... It would just, because you have like those, you as a kid, I think you have, more reactions to things. As adults, you can kind of shrug it off sometimes. Like, whatever, it's a show. It's just a TV show when it's on. But as a kid, things can have a very visceral reaction because you don't, you can't understand things that aren't real yet. You're not quite like this kid. You can have that imaginary shit of like, oh my God, this is going to happen. This is going to happen to me. When you're, when you're an adult, you're like, no, aliens are not going to come down and take you and do things. That's unrealistic. But as a kid, it's all realistic to you because you don't know any better.
See, so here's the thing too. It's like movies cartoons I wouldn't watch. If I wouldn't watch them, I never watched them. So it's like it's hard.
Well, you might have seen it at some point, right? At some point you would know you hated it because you watched it and you go, nope, this is too stupid for me, or this sucks.
As I'm going through a list right now, did you watch the cartoon Laser Tag?
Yeah.
That was one that sucked.
Yeah, it just was. There's some definite misses.
And I remember watching that actually a couple times because at the time...
Ghostbusters, not the real Ghostbusters.
So that was another one. I was actually just... The Ghostbusters cartoon where it was like the two guys and them, like that one kind of was weak. That was weak sauce.
It just never made any sense.
No.
I love Inspector Gadget.
The Ewoks one, that wasn't bad, but I'm not going over the handlebars for that. Yeah. What else as I look down this list here? David the Gnome. I actually do remember watching that. I think it was on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And that was another thing. Nickelodeon had certain cartoons that came out too that weren't bad, but I think that they were geared. I mean, after I just finished watching, G.I. Joe the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think anything on Nickelodeon is going to make me go, ooh, let me watch that.
Right, exactly. No,
but they were definitely they were good Nickelodeon shows.
Yeah. Were you an Inspector Gadget fan? I have two of those pop figures, by the way.
So I did like it. One of the problems I always had, though, is how the hell does this idiot, okay, I know it's because of Penny and Brain, which is a dog. How the hell
by the way,
did this idiot and his 12-year-old niece and his clumsy dog beat Dr. Claw at every turn? Dr. Claw's supposed to be this badass man.
Penny was the driving. Penny
right, and I get that Penny, again, she's a 12-year-old girl.
She just stumbled. But we just watched a 20-year-old, 12-year-old girl throw proton packs and have no problem carrying that shit around and defeat Gozer.
And what was it? Oh, what was his boss's name?
And really, the only reason she wasn't able to do it alone because she wasn't strong enough to hold her ground.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because it took 4 guys to do it in the first movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She couldn't have done it alone. She wasn't strong enough. That was it.
What was the...
But I'm glad they at least made that, because if she had defeated Gozer by herself,
that would have sucked.
I would have walked right the fuck out.
Yeah, that would have been it. I would have looked at you and said, you have to do this to me again,
I'll kill you,
and I'll kill you.
I know.
What I did like about Inspector Gadget was the chief.
Yeah, Chief Quimby.
Thank you. all the different places he would be to give him his message.
Exploding message.
Right. That was pretty funny. I looked forward to that. Where's he going to pop up now? Is it going to be a trash? Is it going to be in the fridge? Is it going to be... So it's like, how do you even get into these places? So, I did like
Well, they helped invent Inspector Gadget, essentially.
You're right. I did...
And shit pulling out of his hat.
And it's like...
Extending arms and legs.
It's like Data.
Yeah,
from the Goonies,
essentially,
basically. It's an adult version of Data.
Yeah, but it was
I did like Inspector Gadget. I would say top 15.
Yeah, I would be there.
Top 15 for Inspector Gadget, because I think I could throw out 14 or 10 that I like more. But I don't want to give it any...
Before we talk about the last one, sort of I don't want to say granddaddy of them all, but like the one that is probably still conceived of in the 80s towards the end, but still going, The Simpsons. 89, December 5th. So technically it's an 80s cartoon.
It is an 80s cartoon.
But it's still going on today.
And I can't tell you the last episode I watched.
I can't either.
Once
Family Guy hit, I definitely stopped watching The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Even though Family Guy is essentially just a ripoff.
But it's more adult.
It's more adult,
so
and they don't
much
have
more.
melanoma, so that also helps.
Right.
Okay.
I think that the Family Guy show is a lot more grounded.
Yes.
Simpsons, I remember watching, it was such a huge craze, right?
Mm-hmm. Bartman.
He had his own song, was a video, and had video games. Like, they hit every play. Right. Well, the movie comes out, a while after. But, But, the Simpsons hit so many different platforms right out the gate.
It was just a skit started on the Tracy Ullman show.
Facts.
And they were drawn
horribly.
Oh, my God. And the voices were so bad.
It was bad. It was...
But somehow good enough to make its own show.
I still don't know how. I think that
wherever the hell what's this,
I think
89 to 2021.
I think they signed a deal with the devil.
They had to have. They absolutely had to have.
I like the early episodes. I watch it. I think everybody was good. I think it was on Thursday nights, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was on prime time.
Right. So it would come on.
I think it's on Sunday now. Eventually, they moved it to Saturday or something.
I think now they watch it on every day, whatever.
The syndication is ridiculous. But the new episodes, I think.
The new episodes are on Sundays.
At Fox, they're Fox Sunday shows.
So when that came out, they hit the ground running with as far as selling everything.
Yeah.
You figurines, houses, the cartoons, the video games. I remember going to fairs when I was a kid, and they had like if you popped a balloon, if you popped them all, you would get like this little glass thing with different images.
Yeah.
This is 80s.
Yeah, that was like one of the most merchandised shows.
Yeah,
you could not
it was on
like
everything.
Batman '89. You could not turn your head and not see something Simpsons.
Right.
Not see a Bartman T-shirt or something.
Yeah.
I had one.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a huge fan. Even from the get-go, I liked Simpsons well enough, but I was never like, I have to watch every show. I never raced to watch the next episode.
Right, yeah.
I'll catch it eventually.
The opening credits were always cool.
If it was, I love the change how they got to the couch every time. That's kind of inventive shit. I love that kind of stuff.
And every time Bart's writing on the board, it's something different. Yeah. That was cool. So I think that they knew exactly what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And as time progressed, it just got better. I have no idea how the hell they're still on air. I don't know.
I know. But now it's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus now, yeah. I don't know how Matt Groening came up with this many episodes and people still flock to it.
I know. Because most shows last 7 years at best.
Yeah, this thing's been going on for 20 plus. Strong.
You're a network gold if you last 7 seasons.
Yeah,
and this is on 40? Come on, this thing's been on since 89.
This thing, I don't know how. Yeah. I have no answer.
No, neither do I.
And again, I haven't watched it in years, so I lost. I thought even probably before Family Guy, I stopped watching just because I was like, all right,
once Family Guy hit, I had no interest in Simpsons ever again. I couldn't care less.
I like watching the Halloween episodes that they do, the Treehouse of Terror. I watched it. This past Halloween it was Treehouse of Horror 25 or something. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like the specialty episodes that they'll do.
Yeah.
But other than that, Look,
I care less about.
They've been in he's been in the 4th grade for 30 years.
Yes,
this little baby hasn't grown up yet. Come on, man.
At all.
Like I get,
but I mean, Family Guy's the same way, right? Stewie is still a little baby, and somehow they can understand it, but sometimes they don't understand.
Yeah.
It. Right. That's the mission, right?
But here's the thing, though. But here's the thing, though. They even make fun of that. Like, they poke at that.
They
like,
poke at the fact that can they understand
You know, they definitely break to the 4th.
They show that future episode?
Yeah.
They went to the future, and somebody asked, like, can they understand the baby or not? Or
yeah. So it's like, I like...
The dog can.
The dog definitely can. But then I'll talk to the dog, too. So the dog, wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait. I like how they do Family Guy.
And they're not afraid to kill off characters either.
Not at all. I mean, that's a great show.
It is. I still watch.
Yeah.
That I will still watch.
That and Bob's Burgers. That's another one.
I never got into Bob's
Really?
Burgers.
I think Bob's Burgers is hilarious.
I never got. It's
not
same,
80s,
to me,
but
no, it's not. But to me, it's the same as like Rick and Morty. Like and that is a massive phenomenon. I've never watched
I've never watched that either, and everybody talks about Rick and Morty.
It is a massive phenomenon of a show.
Like I think I have to. Like,
I get it. It's a ripoff of Back to the Future, right? There's Doc and Marty,
right?
Even though the names are reversed technically, but it's there. I get the concept of it. But
I guess
to
he's
me,
drunk the whole time.
Yeah, to me, it's not just that it's kind of weird and out there, and I'm not a huge fan of the animation style. That's just me. I just being a visually based person.
Did you like Dr. Katz?
No.
Okay, so that's why I never watched that.
Because little fucking dad would piss me off.
So
that's like I'm having a seizure constantly watching the animation jiggle.
And that's why I didn't watch that. I was like, I can't
watch
that.
I can't watch. You can't make me try to watch something like that. It would piss me off. Yeah. But like and it's kind of like watching the original Simpsons.
Exactly.
The animation sucked.
Yeah.
But but even the first season of Family Guy was rough. I mean, the animation, they hadn't moved it overseas yet. They were doing everything still in the States.
Yeah.
Because once they move it overseas, you have that nice smooth, polished animation because you have an entire warehouse of people making a penny a day, fucking animating for you. Like, get do it. You're not having your penny today. Make it good. So it is what it is. But like now, the animation on it is phenomenal, and you can see the difference. But like shit like that, I couldn't watch. I could not watch Cats. There were certain ones I could not watch. Rick and Morty. Not only does the animation it's just not my style. Kind of like things like the Powerpuff Girls. Like I also don't like that. Like Teen Titans Go. It's polished animation, but it's more animation. I'm not a huge anime person. But I like Studio Ghibli. I like that animation. But that crazy Inuyasha, everybody with a large mouth screaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The eyes go, pink, nothing, and the massive mouth.
Check out Demon Slayer.
Yeah, I just can't. And then like with the Rick and Morty show, it's very screamy.
Everybody's
fucking screaming at each other. Like, it's just like, it's too out there, and they're saying some really wacky, I can't.
Yeah, see, I have to.
I watch it, and I feel like my brain cells are trying to commit suicide on myself, and I can't watch it.
Commit suicide.
I'm watching the show, and I feel myself getting dumber. Like, I just don't want to watch this. I have no interest. And the concept is cool. Like, they do some really cool shit. Yeah. I love Back to the Future, so you think the tie-in would be kind of cool,
but it's not.
I can't. I'd rather like.
Yeah, I don't know where it is for me. I'm gonna.
Have you ever even tried to watch one of the episodes?
No. Yeah. Well, that's why guys that I work with, they talk about. I'm gonna watch it for funsies.
Just for funsies, have a good stiff drink next to you. You know what I mean? Have a couple of Long Island iced teas before you get into it, and just see how you do it. Which is one of my favorite episodes of Big Bang Theory, by the way. When Sheldon drinks the Long Island iced tea because he doesn't understand there's alcohol in it. Oh, did you ever see? I was literally just watching that when Will Wheaton is on, and he's gonna do Fun with Flags, and he insults Amy because she was being a massive pain in the ass. Well,
I remember that episode.
She's recording it, and she's like cut, and she like Will sucks basically. Sheldon's awesome, and Will's obviously the very opposite. He's actually an actor, knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
Sheldon's like he's like yeah, she's being a major pain in the ass. And so, there was a whole episode of why Sheldon didn't defend her. So he's talking to Penny at the bar at the Cheesecake Factory, because
I remember that episode. I remember the Fun with Flags.
He's like, normally I would drink, some herbal tea. She's like, I want a Long Island tea.
I remember that.
And he just sucks three of them down.
Yes.
He's like, you might want to go easy. He's like, I drink tea all on. I know what I'm doing.
Yes, that's
and he goes
right.
to Will Wheaton's house. He's like, Will Wheaton.
That's right. Will Wheaton.
Wait a minute, how many was that?
Yeah.
And he starts talking to him. Like a minute later, he goes, It was two. Well, wait.
Yes.
I still laugh at that every single time.
I do remember that episode. That was
genius.
That was a good. I like that show.
I mean, it was genius. And then he's like, dude, which one of these bushes would you not mind getting a full of vomit?
Right. Yep.
Then he's like, never mind, I'll pick. Choose. So that was one of my. That's still one of my favorite. We'll have to do a whole Big Bang Theory episode.
I'm gonna have to get back into that.
That is one of my favorites. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to and watch it from the beginning.
I watch it like on loop. Like it's one of those shows I watch on loop.
Yeah, I've heard you say that. Yeah,
because I know all the episodes. It's just fun. Yeah. That and when Penny gives him the napkin with Spock's DNA.
Yep.
I understand why he won so many Emmys for that show.
He was good.
He was really good, but I still wish Steve Carell won at least the last year that he was on The Office.
See, I can't speak to that because I didn't.
Every year. He never won an Emmy for that show.
See, that blows my mind.
Even though is still on, like it was one of the most rewatched shows now.
Yeah, like I've watched episodes of it. Entire audiences
come up, like young kids watch that show now.
Yeah,
like it's a massive weird phenomenon going on right now. It's still one of the most downloaded or watched episodes on the streaming. Is The Office.
It's a good show. I mean, I've never seen not that I've seen every episode, but like the episode that I've watched, I laugh and I do like that quote unquote docuseries that they're doing. Like I like the mockumentary. There we go. I love the fact that it's a mockumentary. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And I have gone back to watch the original, the UK version. I'm like, oh my god, that's because I do like dry humor like that.
Yeah, I like the original, but I like the new US version better. Like there's something about the UK version that kind of off-puts me. Not just the David Brent character because he's different than Michael. Michael, they fleshed out more because they obviously had 7 seasons with him or whatever. Like you could do more, but like David was like more in your face. Like he was more of a weirdo and like just too full of himself. Where Michael had a sense of like he cared about his employees. He was a nitwit, but he cared about his people. Where David just really cared about himself. Yeah. So there was that. They definitely changed that dynamic of it, but. And it's obviously, like I said, it lasted a lot longer than the UK version because that's just the way they do things. Yeah. But, they spent all these years with him, and he never won an Emmy for that show. That's and the show was amazing, even with, even if the whole show didn't have to win, but he should have won. Yeah. The way he portrayed that character, and he really fleshed it out, it was amazing, and it's just astonishing to me. But, he mostly lost to... he moved to Peter to Parsons. To Parsons. Jim. Yeah, and I understand why in a lot of ways, but at least the last season, the guy was off the show. Should have given him something. Should have just thrown him a bone for fuck's sake. I know. You know what I mean?
That blows my mind that he hasn't won. That he never won one.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So there we go. What else anything else you want to add in about the '80s cartoons?
I mean, '80s cartoons. Look, at the end of the day, they threw out so many cartoons and. Look, in the 80s, from 1980 to 1990, right? In 10 years, they flushed our TVs with so many cartoons, right? So when somebody sits there, I mean, that was part of the thing that when I was thinking about, when we had agreed that we were going to do this 80s cartoons pod, I thought of it. And I knew that certain questions were going to happen. One, what's your favorite? What's your least? My favorite is, you could talk about your favorites all day long, right? I know you can even talk about favorite episodes of your favorites. Yeah. But they flushed out with so many cartoons that I'm looking at this list that I've been staring at this whole time.
And the lists aren't complete. Like no list is complete. It's impossible. They're not. 10 years, like you said, they flooded the market. And it wasn't not to say that they don't have a ton of shows out today. Of course they do. But I feel like shows today, once they get legs, they last a little longer. Like Paw Patrol probably has more seasons than G.I. Joe.
Right. Because they
even
just
My
keep
Little Pony.
Right. And I think that's part of it. Because I'm looking at this.
Shorter seasons. But they have more seasons.
That thing, I mean, Underdog, Snorks. I used to watch. Snorks are the underwater version of the Smurfs. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I watched that. Like I'm looking at this list, and there's so many cartoons on here.
Smurfs went a little awry with me when they introduced Johan and Pee Wee. Let's just be honest.
That was a little weird.
It was a little weird.
Well, the humans found them, so they got to.
Yeah.
Johan and people were just weird anyway.
It was one of those episodes, like we said, like some episodes, like you wait to see if your favorite character's in it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god, I hope Johan and Pee Wee are not in it.
Right? Yeah. I didn't like them either. Yeah. Like I'm looking at like
Agatha was another one in that show. Agatha.
Well, they need to start introducing more humans.
Yeah. They needed the love interest essentially for Gargamel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
because he's just playing around with his cat.
Yeah, it's just, oh boy.
You know, Chip and Dale, Mighty Mouse.
We're in the Mushroom Village. He's playing around with his pussy and the pussycat.
Oh, Jesus. You know, Pound Puppies, Chip and Dale, the real Ghostbusters, Mighty Mouse. I mean, so there's some of them on here that I watched that are not on the list. It was Brave Star.
Yeah, I got a list of Brave Star on it.
You know, so it's like, in these, so it's really hard to sit there and go, what's your favorite? What's your
because there can be a favorite of like a superhero. There can be a favorite of like the Smurf type cartoony. You know, there could be a favorite of the G.I. Joe sect of like G.I. Joe, Transformers, you know, Mass.
Right, like, you could like break all those down then.
There's
then it's like
categories, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and then you could go like the USA Network, which had like Pac-Man and stuff like that. Right. Like I liked watching Pac-Man.
The property show, the one came from something that originated before.
Right. That Cuber, I loved watching Cuber too. So again, there's so many things. So I know that we constantly bounce around on this, right?
There was that two types of shows, right? There was shows that were created to sell toys.
Yes.
We have G.I. Joe, so we need to make a cartoon. Then there was things like Mario Brothers, or let's say, or Mr. T. We have this Mr. T and Hulk Hogan. Let's make a cartoon of it.
Let's make a cartoon.
Happy Days had a cartoon.
Yes.
Which was really fucking weird, by the way, because he had that little alien.
Oh shit, that's right.
The little dog alien that was on a spaceship. Like that was really fucked up. But you had like Happy Days and you offshoot it. Star Trek had a cartoon, but Star Trek was a show, and they said, "Fuck it, let's make an animated show out of it."
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't watch that.
Show. You know what I mean? So things like that. So there was that. This is a property, and let's spin it off to a TV show. Camp Candy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But again, like things like G.I. Joe were strictly made because
they were toys,
and we just supported with the Saturday morning cartoon, so kids will want to buy these toys.
Buy more toys.
Same thing. He-Man was the granddaddy, right? If you watch those specials, that how they made Toys That Made Us.
Toys That Made Us. Yeah.
He-Man was kind of one of the first.
That was the first one.
Whole thing. We got to make a show to go around it, and it kept building the toy.
Yep. Actually, I really like that show.
I did too.
Anytime I do those kind of like shows,
the canned animation on those shows, like the Runaway. Every time he ran, it was like the same. Like, let's just put these cells back in again.
Put it back in. It's always the same one. Yeah, for what? It's him running away.
Cranking so many out that sometimes you have to just keep reusing the same ones over and over again.
So I mean, yeah. So as far as, you know, just the 80s cartoons, there's just so many of them.
I know. Go back and enjoy them. So many of them are available now.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go to YouTube. Like I said, a lot of them are on
different
Amazon
platforms.
or
Hulu, Amazon. Yep.
Yeah, just go and find them. Disney, like I said, they have a lot of the stuff too. So like,
go binge.
Yeah, go binge. Why not?
I mean,
still, you know,
throw on your PJs. Grab a couple, you know.
Who knows what's going to happen with this winter time's coming and hunkering down again because of the stupid
Go binge. Go watch some 80s cartoons.
Yeah, have some fun. Even if you're not a child of the 80s.
The innocence.
Sometimes just go and watch the difference between what we watched
to what's now.
You know what I mean? Yeah. See the differences. The animation styles, like I said, the reusing of cells, using the same thing over and over again. The content. What they were able to get away with.
Yeah, the content. Yeah, it was so different then than it is now.
You watch like original, Bugs Bunny and the guns and stuff that they use that they don't use in cartoons.
They took them away from Yosemite Sam.
Yeah.
On HBO, I just read that they're gonna that HBO relaunched the Looney Tunes and they took the gun. Oh, it was either away from him or from Elmer Fudd. One or the other.
Probably both.
Maybe both. They want to take the guns away from him.
With like Tiny Toons, there was no guns.
Yeah.
That was one of their staples. Like they're not using the guns.
Well, the Tiny Toons, I mean, they were basically the little kids versions. So,
yeah, they were like their cousins or nephews or whatever.
Yeah.
But like that's the point. Like they made sure that there was no guns in the episodes and like that. Like they took all that stuff out. But it was all over the place in the original stuff because you get away with that in the 60s and the 70s like that. Nobody gave a shit. Like this is fine.
Yeah, there was the undertone of racism and violence all over the place.
They got a gun in his face and he blows it up and it's just a big black, blown away face. And the next frame, the guy's fine again.
Yep, it's back to normal.
Yeah,
because it's not duck season.
It's rabbit season. I think it's duck season. All right, and on that note, thank you, Larry. That was fun. I love the 80s
Thank you for having me, man.
That was fantastic. We'll talk offline what we're going to do next. Like I said, next week, I have a new guest on the show from the Geeky Dad podcast. We're going to be talking with him about Cobra Kai. Ooh. So I'm recording that next Saturday, so it'll be come up on the following Tuesday. We'll produce that one and put that up for you guys. So anyway, thank you guys for listening. As always, we're the Entertainment Rants podcast, so we just had another long hour-and-a-half rant. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Look for us on entertainmentrants.com, social media. We love our Instagram at @entertainmentrants. Feel free to drop us a line at engage@entertainmentrants.com if you'd like to talk about a certain subject, if you'd like to be a guest on the show and talk about something you're passionate about. And as always, we'd love to hear from you, so drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. On that note, bye, Larry.
See you later. Rant on.
Everybody go keep it ranting, everybody.